Your home for combat sports, the boxing, the pro wrestling, some MMA, much more. This is Keep It in the Ring live for this Thursday night edition, 7 p.m. Eastern. I'm Rich Mancuso. Thank you for joining me as always. Live on my YouTube channel at Rich Mancuso. Subscribe, comment, and of course, hit that like button. Also, do the same on the AGT network. My producer, Carl Roberts, in the background. You'll see him later. Ton of pro wrestling to review. My social media handles, my friends, at the bottom of the screen again. X, formerly Twitter, Ring786, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso, and other social media platforms. And also the upcoming fight schedule of importance scrolled, including the all-important big one coming up. We're almost a week away from that in Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, April 20. We'll talk more about Ryan Garcia again in a little while. As we begin with pro boxing tonight, as always. April 20th, Barclays Center. It is Garcia and Henny, and yes, the fight is still on. But we begin, and we look at a relatively light boxing weekend when it came to major fights. As I tell you every week, there is fight action all week and on every weekend. Many of them are not televised on the streaming networks. There are other promotions all over the world. But of significance this past weekend, as you know, at the Boxing PBC again, and presented by Matchroom Boxing. We saw IBF Junior Welterweight Eliminator take place. We saw Richardson Hitchens undefeated. He remains 18-0. The 12-round unanimous decision over Gustavo Lemos. Lemos went into this fight determined, and he showed it with 12 rounds of non-stop action. The judges had it 117-111, 115-113, 115-113 as we go to the scorecard. There you see it. Now, it could be that one round might have made a difference in this one, and I had it 115-113 for Hitchens. Many went it the other way, but a close, tough fight for Richardson Hitchens, who said that he may not be, that wasn't maybe one of his best. But you know what? Didn't take Gustavo Lemos for granted, because Lemos, again, nonstop action. Based on the punch stats, if we have them, we'll show you. And there you go. And you could see how close this fight might have been, and how Richardson Hitchens moved up a notch again now. It's looking like the next opponent could be IBF champion Subriel Mateus in that competitive 140-pound junior welterweight division at 140. Now, is Richardson Hitchens ready for a title shot against the Subriel Mateus out of Puerto Rico, who has an upcoming fight coming up in the next month or so with his newly signed promoters at Matchroom? We don't know as of yet, but at undefeated at 18-0, he deserves an opportunity, but maybe needs one more before he can get up a notch and fight one of the big guys at 140. And talking about a Garcia maybe, or well, not Garcia and Henny, because they're going to have their encounter coming up in a week or so. But there's Teofimo Lopez waiting out there also. He has an upcoming fight as well. That division at 140 continues to be every day, every week, the talk of boxing. But now add this guy in the mix, Richardson Hitchens, undefeated now, based on that 12-round unanimous decision over the weekend over Gustavo Lemos. What did you think of the fight, folks? Let me know. Comment and let me know what you thought, and where does Richardson Hitchens go from here? On the co-main event of that same card on the Zone, where you see most of your fights now, you could see this young man moving up the ladder even more, Diego Pacheco. Let's get to that. The super middleweight, Diego Pacheco, remained undefeated, 21-0, 10 rounds over Sean McCalman. The judges had it 98-92, 96-94 twice. So he retained the WBO international title, more alphabet soup. More significantly, Pacheco now moves up the ladder, and possible opponents that could be coming up. But first, let's take a look at the punch stats and see how close this fight was, because it was close, separated by 17 landed punches after 10 rounds. Pacheco 28-17 edges landing in punches, especially the last 2 rounds that may have gotten him the fight to the 3 judges. Now, there is a lot of talk about how talented and how formidable Diego Pacheco has become, especially at 168, super middleweight, where Canelo Alvarez holds all the belts, where Canelo Alvarez gets ready for May 4th, coming up soon, Cinco de Mayo weekend, against Jaime Munguia. Is Pacheco ready for Canelo Alvarez? Well, he'll admit, maybe not. The boxing world will admit, maybe not. Instead, there might be other opponents in line for the young and talented super middleweight Diego Pacheco. You could have Edgar Berlanga, who's looking for a fight, who's made some impact now in the division based on his last few fights and wins. Also, easy fight to make because Berlanga is also in his multi-fight deal with Matchroom Boxing and Eddie Hearn. And, of course, Diego Pacheco is there as well. So you could see maybe Berlanga and Pacheco next, maybe, which would be an interesting fight. Pacheco says he can defeat Berlanga, gives a lot of credit and gives a lot of props to Berlanga, but Pacheco also admits he still might have some things to work on, despite this win over the weekend over Sean McCallum. Now, let's take a look at some possible opponents maybe next. Not Berlanga, maybe one of these 3. There's a talk about maybe Eric Dazanian or Shishkin, among the others. All 3 on that list. Next for Diego Pacheco, formidable, competitive, would make a good fight for Diego Pacheco to move up that next notch. He does want a shot at that title, 168, and he's not going anywhere beyond that, at least right now. My thought on this, my friends, is that a fight with Pacheco and Berlanga would be ideal. You have 2 different styles here, and Pacheco, well, you know, he can throw a punch, and he's got some power as well. Berlanga, of course, used to be the knockout artist. He's not like no longer there in that category where he finishes opponents off early, but still a force to be reckoned with. And I think these 2 would match up well. So Eddie Hearn had been talking about maybe Pacheco and Berlanga, both under the Matchroom Boxing banner. That's a possible next step for Diego Pacheco. Regardless of what happens, I've always been high on this young man, always liked his talent. And Diego Pacheco now remains undefeated and is moving up. And you will see him, maybe not for a title fight this year, maybe early next, maybe a couple more fights. He's going to fight once more this year, so he says, so they say. But look out for Diego Pacheco, who continues to make a mark in the boxing world in the 168-pound division. Your thoughts and comments? Comment here at my YouTube channel and Facebook on Keep It in the Ring, Rich Mancuso, or on the AGT Network, where we're live again this week. An otherwise quiet week with pro boxing because there were so many other things going on, the NCAA tournament, and then you had WrestleMania. And I know that everybody likes to schedule things at once, and a lot of promoters in different in combat sports, they really don't care. They'll compete against each other because they know the fans are going to watch either way. But it was a quiet week. Those were the really major action of fights occurred over the weekend. But we take a look at Jake Paul in training because that's coming up in mid-May on Netflix, as you know, The Spectacular. It's going to be an extravaganza. Jake Paul was in the gym, and supposedly he got knocked down from that sparring partner there in the ring. So, but Jake Paul is replying to all that, said he took it easy with him as he gets ready for Mike Tyson. And Mike Tyson's been quiet on social media. We haven't seen much about him, though we do know he's training this fight as if he was fighting for a major world championship again at 58 years of age, and he's in good shape. And by the way, after all his training during the week, Jake Paul took some time off, and then he went to WrestleMania. And there he is. He watched his brother Logan in a triple threat match as we'll talk about in our WrestleMania recap. So he's got some time to relax. He can do that. He's a mega superstar on social media, and he's going to make a lot of money against Mike Tyson. Let's face it, folks, whether you like it or not, I guarantee you're going to buy it on Netflix and watch an extravaganza spectacle of a fight that has different rules. As you know, the rules now they're laid out. No judges. The only way the fighter is going to win, either Tyson has to knock Paul out, or Paul has to knock Tyson out. And we're going to have different ounce gloves, headgear. I hope Tyson wears it. But that's just a spectacular extravaganza. It's going to make a lot of money, and it doesn't mean nothing to the sport. As I reiterate again, if Jake Paul wants to become an established, formidable fighter in boxing, he has to fight real opponents to show that. And Mike Tyson, well, obviously needs the money, goes for the money. And I don't fault him for that, except that Jake Paul should be moving his career in another direction. All right. This came up with Jose Benavidez and Canelo Alvarez. You know, Benavidez have been trying to get Canelo for the longest, and this goes back and forth. Gervonta Davis, who's in line, is going to be fighting Frank Martin in June, and is a part of 140-pound title mix as well. He commented that Benavidez might as well stay at 168 if he can't get high dough, meaning money, for fighting the winner of the Benavidez-Bivol fight taking place on June 1st for the light heavyweight title unification. Benavidez still needs to beat his opponent, Glover, on June 22nd in that WBC 170-pound title eliminator if he's going to have a chance to fight for the Undisputed Championship against Benavidez-Bivol. Yes, we know that. And Gervonta Davis makes valid, good points, talking in between his upcoming fight with Frank Martin. Benavidez would love to be champion at 175 at light heavyweight. Has a good shot at it, facing the winner that looks like he's going to get, either Benavidez or Bivol. Will be a good fight for Benavidez either way, but everyone's still buzzing about Benavidez should fight Canelo Alvarez. Now, I don't fault David Benavidez for moving up in weight. He feels more comfortable at 175 than he would at 168, can handle that weight well, and that will even make him more strong, more powerful with the punch, because he can handle that weight, my friends. The point is here again, Canelo Alvarez has been avoiding David Benavidez for the longest 2 years or so, because he knows that Benavidez could be the one guy that could beat him and dethrone him of those unified titles at 168. So they keep going back and forth. Canelo does say, though, I can do whatever what I want, and he says that publicly to the fans. You are never pleased, he tells the fans. He tells his skeptics, I can do whatever I want, and he can. He's supposedly the face of boxing, picks his opponents and dates when he fights next as the biggest free agent fighter in the sport. But he does say to the fans, I can do whatever I want, and you are never pleased. He says he never ducks anyone as well. That's what he says. Well, he's ducked David Benavidez. That he has. So he can't say that he's never ducked anyone. And that's a fight we may never see unless Canelo decides, well, now I'm going to go back to 175 light heavyweight, where he lost commandingly to Benavidez, to Bivol a couple of years ago, as you know. And Canelo, I don't think he's going to do that. It's going to stay at 168 because there are so many gunning for that title that are going after him. But again, he'll pick and choose who he wants, which is wrong. There are mandates in the sanctioning alphabet soup organizations have mandatories where Canelo has to fight them, but he gets around that all the time. And supposedly, and it was reported and known, David Benavidez was supposedly the mandatory to Canelo Alvarez next for those titles. So I don't fault David Benavidez for going to 175. No matter how much money and much of the money figures that have been floating around, and how Canelo says you put up this purse and Benavidez says I put up that, it should be mandated that that fight happen. But David Benavidez didn't see that happening. And David Benavidez made the right decision to move up to 175, where he can get a crack at the titles. But I think he had a better shot at fighting Canelo and make a lot of money as well on pay-per-view and become a champion over Canelo Alvarez. I've always said that. David Benavidez with that punch and Canelo Alvarez, those skills have diminished a bit. That David Benavidez could defeat Canelo Alvarez at 168. But we're not going to see it. So why even talk about it? I want your thoughts on that. As Canelo continues to prepare for May 4th, he's been very quiet otherwise, training hard, but there is a good undercard to that pay-per-view, Amazon Prime pay-per-view event. Top welterweight Mario Barrios is going to be defending his 147-pound title as a co-main on the undercard. And so will Fabian Maidana. And Brandon Figueroa will be there for the featherweight title. He defends it against Jesse Magdaleno, and undefeated welterweight champ Amelia Stanosis, also a two-time champion, against Gabriel Mastri. That's on the undercard. So that Amazon Prime, Canelo Alvarez, Jaime Munguia, May 4th, Amazon Prime pay-per-view, is going to be a stellar undercard if you do purchase that card on Amazon Prime to see Canelo Alvarez. You're getting a stacked undercard and co-main event as well. That's a good one. Coming up soon. And here we go again. Almost how many days to April 20th? A week from Saturday? So, of course, Rich Mancuso has to look at the latest from Ryan Garcia, who says he's calmed down his social media post. But here's another one. Yeah, I do this as much as he says he has haters and he doesn't care what he posts on his Twitter and Instagram accounts. He's very religious, so he claims Jesus Christ is returning. Report come to Christ. He cites Matthew. Now, I like someone who has religious thoughts and is very religious. But again, Ryan Garcia, this week, we see him working out in the gym. He looks good. He had a media workout the other day. If you haven't seen the footage, look at it. And he's talking more now about the focus on the fight. He's even, when he's running and jogging in the Dallas, Texas area where he set up his training camp with his trainer, Derek James, he's been sending messages out. And he's been saying how well he looks and how good and conditioned he is and how he's going to defeat Devin Haney. He also had this tweet. The earthquake we had in New York and on the East Coast, people had this 4.5 magnitude. And he said he predicted this one as well. He said Jesus is returning soon, and that he predicted this earthquake on that date. And we had that tremor. We had the shocks last week in piece of the East Coast and wherever you were, up and down. But Ryan Garcia made an earthquake again by this. Insane. And more insane is that the fight has not been is not sold out. Ryan Garcia talked about that. I tried to get a comment from the Barclays Center. They didn't get back to me. Ticket sales are slow. Prices supposedly have been reduced from the original high price they were. Remember, this fight was supposed to be in Vegas, where I said, and Ryan Garcia, won't fault him for this, said that's where it should be. This fight's not a New York fight. Let alone that Devin Haney, apparently, if ticket sales are this low. And I don't know how low, but I heard low. And we're approaching fight week almost next week. That goes to show the marketability. And maybe Devin Haney is not that big of a draw as much as a talented fighter he is as a champion at 140. Ryan Garcia has popularity, but maybe many feel that this is not a fight to go see and pay all that money We'll have the purchase on Amazon on pay-per-view, PBC. It's not PBC, it's Golden Boys promoting it. There's going to be on the Zone. So, the interest for Henny Garcia apparently is not where it should be. The interest in what Ryan Garcia does continues because you don't know where his mental state will be. Though Ryan Garcia said to his skeptics just yesterday and early today, I'm mentally capable and well. Leading to things thinking that maybe this is all a way to get to his opponent or to hype up Ryan Garcia as he is. He's trying to say that what he does is all him and is a part of his show. They're not really impressing me, all these messages he's been sending out on Instagram and on X the past month or so, leading up to the biggest fight possibly of his career now. Because for Ryan Garcia to be legitimately considered a force, a champion, to be a major part of this mix at 140, he has to win this fight. And he has to show something better than he did against Gervonta Davis, his last fight, where he went down in the 7th round with a body punch. So that's where it comes down to. Ryan Garcia needs to perform. Ryan Garcia needs to show his critics and skeptics on April 20th that I am the Ryan Garcia I say I am. I don't think he will win this fight. We'll go into it more in depth and detail next week. We'll match it up. I'll try and get an expert on the program and talk about it because this is becoming now, it is the fight of the year, anticipated, and the fight that people want to see. However, it's not showing in ticket sales right now. But you know what? Over the years, fights like this, generally, ticket sales move up during fight week, and there's always a walk-up crowd as well. I don't know if Barclays is going to sell out for this, though, because for a fight of this magnitude with two names big, with a lot riding on this 140-pound title match at Barclays, I don't know if it's going to sell out because a fight of this magnitude should have been sold out already. We'll see. We'll know more next week in the days ahead. In the meantime, Ryan Garcia says he's going to get away a little bit from the social media, show more about what he's doing to focus on this fight with Devin Haney. A week from Saturday, Barclays Center, New York, Henny Garcia. All right, Eddie Hearn, always in the news. He's got a fight card coming up again this weekend in the UK. It's scrolled at the bottom of your screen. Eddie Hearn says a possible fight for his new signee, Mateus, out of Puerto Rico, and Pitbull Cruz. Isaac Pitbull Cruz just won the WBA 140-pound title, dethroned Rolly Romero. He says he wants to talk to the BBC that has Cruz under their wing and see what he can make, what can be done to put those two together. He says, Eddie Hearn, that Cruz and Mateus would be a thrilling fight. I think it would be. And, of course, Isaac Cruz has become a name in the sport and now a champion at 140. People can't take him lightly now. And he defeated Romero, and he did it, and he took command of that fight and dominated Romero. So Matchroom Boxing has something up their sleeve. Eddie Hearn says the PBC and him can work together to put this fight together. And if Eddie Hearn says that, it can be done. He's a guy that likes, him and Oscar De La Hoya are two promoters in the sport that work together now, and shows that promoters can bond and put fights together deserving for the fans. So I credit Eddie Hearn again, and if he can get that fight going, that'd be good. And Eddie Hearn, big signing yesterday. It was announced that Jaron Boots Ennis, who is a champion now at 147, the IBF welterweight champ. And, that was a title once belonged to Terrence Bud Crawford. He signed Boots Ennis. The PBC had him. Ennis felt it was the right move to make now in his career. He leaves the PBC, and now Eddie Hearn has another major name in his ever array of big name fighters in his stable under the Matchroom Boxing banner. So Gerald Boots Ennis with a good move and ready now with Matchroom as a champion, and at 147, still a competitive division in the sport. Maybe not as competitive as 140, but Boots Ennis, big signing, multi-fight deal with Matchroom and Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn signing fighters. It seems like every week he signs another fighter and has another card going. And sure, he's got plenty of space to do it and plenty of money to do it with Matchroom and, of course, his alliance with DAZN, the biggest streaming network in the sport. Xander Zayas, Top Rank. He's going to get ready. He's supposedly going to be fighting in June in New York at Madison Square Garden again as a part of Puerto Rican Day weekend festivities. Here he is in Puerto Rico, the top-ranked young superstar vying for a championship soon. A junior middleweight, 21 years old, went back to his roots, went back to San Juan, Puerto Rico, where he's from. He also lives in Miami, gave a nice clinic for the kids at the Juan Abreu Gym. Free clinic for the kids. They got their lessons from him. That the organization was a nonprofit organization, the Remus Foundation. Zayas, again, happy to do this, giving back to the community, going back to his roots. You know, when you look now at my image on screen to the homepage, Carl, put that back up, you'll see me and Xander Zayas. There he is to my left. That's Xander Zayas right there. That's what I'm going to do again. People always ask me. There he is. Okay. Thank you, Carl. Zayas is a talented young fighter. Not ready for a title shot yet. Top Rank likes to milk their young superstars. They've done that. They have a history of doing that. Here's another example of it. And Zayas will fight again in June and maybe another one after that. And he loves fighting in New York City. I've talked to him about that numerous times. And he says, this is where I like to fight. Because everyone likes to fight at the Mecca, Madison Square Garden, whether it's in the theater or the main arena. And Zayas will have a contingent of his Puerto Rican fans from Puerto Rico and New York City when he returns to the Garden, supposedly in June. But he loves to help young people. He wants to give back to them because when he was a youngster, as he told me, started putting the gloves on when he was 5 years old, he always looked up to the fighters that he admired, Felix Trinidad, Miguel Cotto, all the great champions could come out of Puerto Rico. And he's one of them now on his way. And here he is with the young people this past week. Top Rank again. Great job doing that. Xander Zayas, congratulations. You're keeping your word, my friend. Upcoming champion, 21 years old. He's got the credentials to get a title fight. Maybe another fight after that. He does fight for a title in the division. Still says in his junior middleweight he has a lot more to learn. He's still learning. He's got there. He's made a lot of progress this past year or so. We'll see where the future holds for Xander Zayas. Talk about Matchroom again, and we switch to Anthony Joshua, the former two-time heavyweight champion. On the Matchroom banner control, the 37-year-old, though, said this. He plans 2 more years. He's going to retire. 2 more years. He's got over $200 million in the bank. So he says he really isn't a fight no more. But he does want another heavyweight title. If the body allows it, he says he will try and vie if he can get the winner of Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, fighting next month to unify the heavyweight titles. Fury was at his press conference yesterday talking about how well conditioned he is, how he does not despise Usyk, respects him as a family man and as a fighter, and that it's going to be a friendly encounter until they get in the ring, of course. But Joshua still wants the heavyweight title to become a 3-time heavyweight champion. The issue again, he has to go through Fury or Usyk, who have a rematch clause in the contract. So either one of those guys wins next month, there could be a rematch. And it should be. That's what they say in the contract if no one gets hurt or is pushed back. So Joshua still has to wait in line. Who's next for him? Who's next for Anthony Joshua? He just can't stand there idle. But he says he's going to fight 2 more years and then call it quits. I hope he stays a little longer than that because he's gotten better since his last defeat. And Anthony Joshua has been there before. He's a must watch in the heavyweight division, and he looks like he's in the best shape of his career right now. But he's going to have to wait in line because Fury and Usyk will decide that heavyweight championship unification next month. And he's also with Eddie Hearn in Matchroom, so that makes perfect sense. Anthony Joshua will have a lot of options because he's got one of the best promoters in the game right now, Eddie Hearn. All right. This came to my attention during the week, my friends. Like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget, Rich Mancuso at YouTube, Keep It in the Ring, and live on the AGT network and my social media at the bottom of the screen being scrolled to get in touch. This came to my attention. Top 10 fighters of all time. Fox Sports put this up. I want you to look at this briefly as I look at it. When I first saw this, I had my questions. Floyd Mayweather first, then Pacquiao, and then Carlos Monzon, Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Robinson, Bernard Hopkins, Joe Louis, Archie Moore, Oscar De La Hoya, Julio Cesar Chavez. Now, there are some names that aren't on that list. I don't take this list as serious. Floyd Mayweather Jr. could be at that top of the level, but where is Canelo Alvarez, who's proved what he can do and has unified the 160-pound, 8-pound titles and had to go through 3 others to get there? There's no Hagler or Hearns on that list, Leonard or Duran, who are a major part of the boxing era in the 1980s and more, and deservingly should be in there in that top 10. They're not on that list, and neither is the 4-division champion from Puerto Rico, Miguel Cotto, or Felix Trinidad, the former champion from Puerto Rico that I previously mentioned before. So I doubt that this list can be taken seriously, but Floyd Mayweather Jr. at the top, he could be there. And where's my all-time favorite that should be on that list? And not because he's Italian, like me, Italian-American, but because he retired as the undefeated heavyweight champion of the world, never ducked an opponent, fought Joe Louis, among others, and Jersey Joe Walcott. And if you watch his videos that are out there, I'm talking about the great one from Brockton, Massachusetts, The Rock, Rocky Marciano. The original name of The Rock from him, not from Sylvester Stallone or all of those others. Rocky Marciano's not on that list, so whoever put that list together for Fox Sports didn't do their homework seriously enough. If you're not going to put Marciano on top, he should be in the top 10. 49-0, undefeated heavyweight champ. Not on Fox Sports top list, all-time great fighters. So I have to ignore that, but I put it up to see what your thoughts are. Do tell me what your thoughts are. Who, in your opinion, top 10 fighters of all time? So many of them out there, not on that list. So many of them out there should be on that list. That's how competitive and how good this sport's been over the years. And even now, with the rising young superstars that make the sport so good. All right, watch Top Rank Fights on ESPN Plus this weekend and on ESPN on their networks and their platforms. You're undefeated heavyweight and the youngster Gerard Anderson, who had some legal issues, but is going to be back in the ring this weekend against Raya Marhai. And a co-feature, Ife Agbaga, the Nigerian, against Guido Vaniello, fellow Italian. I'm not going to be partial there as well. He's a 2015 Olympian. Top Rank has a good card this weekend. Catch it. Saturday, ESPN platforms. That's the major fight card of the week. Plus, Eddie Hearn has Gil and on the Zone. And that's on your fight calendar. It's Gil versus Zelfer Barrett, 12 rounds, junior lightweights. That's going to be a good one on the Zone as well this weekend. So you got some fights this weekend leading up to Henny Garcia a week from Saturday, April 20th, Barclays Center, Brooklyn, New York, on pay-per-view. All right. We're going to take a quick break. Before I do that, I got to give you the fact of the week, see if you can get it. If not, I'm going to give it to you. Don't have a guest this week because we've got a lot of pro wrestling to discuss. Me and Carl Roberts will go over it all, plus UFC info as well, MMA stuff in a moment. Before we take a break, here's the fact of the week. And it's not the fact of the week till Carl Roberts plays it. Go ahead. Many years, fighters have been known to steal rounds. You know, they do this, a little of that, and the judges will see that, and the three blind mice, I call it ringside, will do that. They'll look at fighters as steal rounds and give them points. One in particular did it really well. And this guy is a Hall of Famer. This guy did it really well. And he was known for that because the last 15 seconds of every round, he would do that almost. Take a guess at it. Carl, do you think you know who it is?
No, unfortunately, I don't know this one.
No. Many people wouldn't. I might have not got it if I didn't have it. I'm talking about Sugar Ray Leonard. He would do that. He could steal rounds. So could Roy Jones Jr. Take a look at some of those fights back in the 80s and take a look at how Sugar Ray Leonard stole some rounds. Fighters will do that, and he was known for that. That's my fact of the week this week. I don't know if you got it. But there it was. I do it every week on the program. It's Keep It in the Ring with Rich Mancuso, live on my YouTube channel, also on the AGT Network and on Facebook and other platforms. I want you to stay with us. Back with a lot of pro wrestling. We're going to take a little break, come back with Carl Robertson. We're going to go over WrestleMania and that CM Punk footage shown on AEW Dynamite last night and the ramifications from that one. You know what I'm talking about if you're a pro wrestling fan. We'll talk about it in a moment. Back in a moment. Rich Mancuso, this is Keep It in the Ring. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with me, folks. Rich Mancuso, Keep It in the Ring, live on my YouTube channel, Rich Mancuso, and the AGT Network. My social media handles, X, formerly Twitter, Ring786, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso, and other social media platforms. I want you to comment, like, and most of all, subscribe to AGT Network and Rich Mancuso, my channel on YouTube. It's free. Subscribe. I appreciate it. Now, we're going to go to the pro wrestling now, and there's a lot of it, and spend a good time on it. And Carl, I'm going to bring you in right away. Carl Roberts, my producer, who's a pro wrestling nut as much as I am, and knows a lot what's going on, is more maybe some that I do. And Carl, first of all, fans like to know what other shows or programs are on the network. I get that a lot. So before we start, how do people see you on the AGT Network? And I know you do pro wrestling show as well.
Right, and that's actually later tonight at 9:30 right here on the AGT Network, and it's called the Main Event Podcast.
Oh, so you follow me.
Right.
You follow me. Perfect lead-in. Great, great. So fans, tune in. What we talk about now, pro wrestling, he'll elaborate some more, and then I'll go to sleep. Right, Carl?
But
No,
we also talk
no.
about combat sports too.
Good. Yep.
So,
We do it all here on the
yep.
AGT network and on
And then we
YouTube.
also
All
have
right.
our sports show called The Fans from the Stands.
Great.
And that's usually on Saturdays.
Yeah, got a lot going on there. A lot on the network. It's growing, and I'm glad to be a part of it. All right, Carl, let's first talk AEW. Before I get into CM Punk, AEW, their ratings are horrendous, and we'll go into the CM Punk factor on that in a moment. But they did have Ring of Honor that Tony Khan owns and operates.
Right,
Eddie Kingston losing the title to Briscoe, which was very good. I found it interesting again that they did that on WrestleMania weekend. How apropos and how coincidental was that?
Yeah.
And Forbidden Door, one of their major pay-per-views now, is not going to be in New York City. They're moving it, and they say the production cost became too high for NJPW with involvement with them on that. So Forbidden Door is not going to be in the New York area. However, they do have Grand Slam, a major show that I believe is going to still be over the summer at Arthur Ashe Stadium in Flushing next to Citi Field. And then it came out with their pay-per-view schedule for the rest of the year, which is growing. They're doing more pay-per-views, which makes me think that they're going to finally get a network similar to what WWE has done for years with their network and now Peacock. Put up that pay-per-view schedule, Carl. There it is. And they start, this is their list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 of them coming up, including them one next weekend, April 21st. Their new one called, what is it called? Dynasty?
Yeah, Dynasty.
And that one should be good. But you see, they because that's Samoa Joe against Swerve. That should be good for the title, for the heavyweight AEW title. They basically look like they're once a month show pay-per-views, except between June and August. And September, October, November. So they're coming just about every month now with a pay-per-view. So they're saturating the market. They're saturating pay-per-view, AEW. Tony Khan feels that they're on their way. But are they on their way? And the reason why I say they're on their way, because they're getting a lot of resistance. In fact, we can't show it because it's been lifted from social media.
Yep.
Tony Khan lifted it and has admitted he made a mistake, that he shouldn't have done this. And obviously it was a ratings ploy because their ratings were up last night on Dynamite, showing the CM Punk altercation with Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, backstage. Do we have any image of it all? Can we show an image?
I don't even have anything.
They lifted everything. And you can't go into the annals and put it up because you're up to getting sued. That's the last thing we need. Right. But everyone saw that. Everyone watched that as a wrestling fan. In fact, the arena saw that where AEW Dynamite originated last night and screamed CM Punk chants, which Tony Khan made a statement about. Do you have that statement? Because I have it.
No, I didn't have it.
Okay, I'm going to read it. Tony Punk on Tony Punk.
Yeah.
Tony could be a punk because what he did.
He's going, yeah.
And this is definitely hurting AEW. They don't need to be hurt anymore. Their ratings have been atrociously bad. And if this was a ratings ploy, they got him last night, but they may not get him again. This hurt them. He said this on X today. I did not think it was a good idea putting that up. I never did think it was a good idea, but I thought, look, you got to give them the benefit of the doubt, see what happens. Then he says this, Tony Khan. Oh, here's the thing. Later in the show, when the fans were chanting CM Punk, it was like, well, this one sure backfired. You don't want people chanting the name of someone from another promotion during your show. How true. And sometimes it's going to happen, and you can't avoid it. But this one was one you brought on yourself.
Yep. He's right.
So he's. Well, did that message come from Tony Khan or did that come from Dave Meltzer?
I think
Dave
that came.
Meltzer.
Is
No,
that the message you sent
he
me?
got the comment from clarified. Was it Tony Khan or Dave Meltzer?
That was Dave Meltzer.
Dave Meltzer commenting about Tony Khan.
Yeah.
But Tony Khan references, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah. But see, Tony Khan, when originally that came out.
You see Tony Schiavone sitting there with his hands like this.
Yeah,
Like he knew
because he experienced that, and he experienced similar things in WCW, and that was their downfall.
Yep.
So why did Tony Khan do this last night? He did this for ratings.
Yeah, because he's
what are you going to get out of it? It's old news, and in the end, CM Punk didn't do anything really. He stood by his story, and CM Punk.
Yep.
CM Punk responded on Instagram. Show that CM Punk Instagram response if anyone missed it. That was his response. I forgot what the comment was. Let me go to his page. He made a comment, CM Punk, on his Instagram. Let me pull that up. Bear with me 1 second. Carl, what are your thoughts on the whole thing?
I think Tony was just being stupid for once. Or actually a little over stupidity on this one.
I think CM Punk says something like retribution to that photo on that post.
Well, no offense, what you sent me, it just shows that picture and nothing else.
Yeah, he made a comment, something like he was retribution vindicated. In other words, his story was the true story. That he didn't attack Tony Khan. He screamed at him, left, and said he quit. And it all stemmed from Richards having words with him.
Right.
Now, true, Punk did get into an altercation. We see that. But why show it on your major show on TBS, on Dynamite? It did for ratings? It hurt. It's hurting AEW and it's putting them further to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it.
And it's almost a year later.
Yeah, it's old news. Right. And then on top of it again, the arena chanting CM Punk. I don't think Tony Khan expected that. I'm pretty sure he's sorry he did it. Not sorry that think twice about doing that. It shows something about the character, leadership, and also direction AEW is in. And it's not good.
No. Tony is a wrestling mark that has the money that tried to start his own business.
Do you see this hurting AEW?
Oh, big time.
In what way?
You're going to start seeing a lot of people not going to their shows or their pay-per-views being so low that it's going to be reminiscent of WCW at the final stages of it.
He's going to take a hit financially, I think, real bad.
Yep.
And I don't know how much the Turner Networks will stand with that. They've been very committed to him, standing by him and pumping a lot of money into his product. Yeah. And they're very committed, but I wonder how far more this will go. Because this was an embarrassment, not only to AEW, to them, it's an embarrassment to the whole press. You know, it's created a major buzz after WrestleMania.
Yep. I wouldn't be surprised if they're done by next year, the way he's going.
Could be. Good point, Carl. I thought about that today. Because that was wild that they would show that. And CM Punk just the only comment. WWE, I heard backstage, they've been talking about it, but they haven't really commented. And there's almost a silent war, but not that strong coming out of WWE because they feel AEW is not a threat at all. No threat to them at all.
No.
So they've been quiet, but I did talk to two former I'm not going to mention names today. Two former talents that worked for AEW, and they're no longer there, but they said they questioned Tony Khan's leadership. And the reason they're not there is not because of that. There wasn't enough spots for them to be on AEW programming because they have a full roster and not enough time to put these guys on. They don't do house shows.
No.
So, and they said that they were very, very turned off with this, and were not surprised that Tony Khan would pull this off.
It's just
I know. All you could do is shake your head. And I've been watching pro wrestling since I was 5 years old and involved in the industry. And this, to me, is not a storyline. They want to make it into a storyline, they say now. Storyline to bring back Jungle Boy Richards, to bring him back into the picture. But what type of storyline without CM Punk?
Yeah,
I think they'd be crazy to make into a storyline because they need ratings and they need the fans. And I think the fans are disgusted with this. Most of the reaction on social media today, since last night when this aired on TBS, has been very negative towards AEW.
Yep.
More negative. I didn't see any positives out of it at all.
No.
So maybe it's just going to be dropped. I mean, they did lift it from their social media platforms. So let's get to better news because we're coming off a great weekend of WrestleMania, a great week. In fact, you feel a little relieved it's over because you can keep track of everything that was going on. In fact, everyone's taking a little breather since Monday Night Raw, which was also the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. And Carl, we're going to review it the best we can because so much went on. But let's first take a look at the Hall of Fame, which I thought they don't do it the same. They don't do it the same. They had a great inductee class this year. Thunderbolt Patterson, I felt this was seen after SmackDown on Peacock. I don't know what he was getting at, preaching the gospel and all that, but give the grant. He's 83 years old. He's not in the best of health, but it was great to see him there. And of course, the premier guy was Paul Heyman, the induction, the speech, going back to his days at ECW, bringing the old gear out, even the classic phone that he had in the ring, and very powerful what he said. That was a highlight, the Hall of Fame. That was great.
I love how he turned around and addressed Triple H.
Yeah.
That was the key.
Compelling.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of compelling moments at that Hall of Fame ceremony that ran it too long. They should not have it 3 hours after SmackDown. They should do it on a separate night. Try a Thursday. Separate. Maybe they can get the time to do it, whatever, but much too long. And you don't watch SmackDown and you're going to watch 3 hours of an induction ceremony. That's not good. I'm sure they lost some viewers because of that. But Paul Heyman was definitely the highlight. Congratulations again to all the inductees. And then Monday Night Raw, before we go into WrestleMania, let's look at some of the things that this image comes up about. I bring up this image of Uncle Howdy, Rotunda, the brother of Bray Wyatt. Because on Monday Night Raw in Philadelphia at the Wells Fargo Center on Monday night, during commercial break, there was the Uncle Howdy references and images, the scenes. They've been talking about reviving Uncle Howdy and the character in memory of his brother, the late Bray Wyatt, and the Wyndham family. Correct. Your thoughts on that?
So technically, this WrestleMania was supposed to be a re-debut of Uncle Howdy and the Firefly Funhouse. But unfortunately, Bray Wyatt passed away, so that all those plans got changed. But WWE has been talking with his brother to continue the legacy and play Uncle Howdy.
It's going to happen. Source told me that it's going to happen, that he'll be back. He wants to do it. And that would be great. That is going to be compelling wrestling theater to see Uncle Howie back. How they do it, how it transpires, we don't know yet, but it's going to happen. But by SummerSlam, you're going to see that. All right. Now, another image.
Question for you, though.
Mm-hmm.
Alexa Bliss is supposed to be returning soon.
Yeah, well, there you go. She'd be a part of it.
Is she like that. Or is she going to go back to her own?
No, I think she would be part of Uncle Howdy to keep it going. Yeah, and the new Wyatt family, which is only fitting.
I would
because this is the new era for Triple H. It's no longer they're not. And then what I also heard, they're no longer going to call WWE Wrestling Entertainment. They say it's going to be pro wrestling. I like that. It is entertainment, we know, but they're going to refer to it as and again, pro wrestling. I think this is coming out of their merger with The Rock involved, having a lot of say. The TKO Endeavor merger with UFC. I like what Triple H is doing. Everyone does. The morale is great. You see the storylines, and it's not the Attitude Era. They're calling it the Renaissance Era.
Yep.
Which it is. And I love what they're doing. Everything they're doing is working out. And I've been a skeptic of them for years, as you know. Now, another lasting image before we go in briefly into the matches and what we saw come out of WrestleMania, which was a fantastic show. Two-night event. Seeing Triple H and Stephanie together backstage, as we see in this image, that was nice to see. And Stephanie was there and intro WrestleMania Night 2. Triple H at the post-media scrum in Philadelphia, or when it was over on Night 2, said it's good to have her back home. I think she's going to be play a role again in WWE. She's back. And I think all that about her father and Vince McMahon stuff doesn't seem to phase her no more. Let it be what it be. Vince McMahon is no longer WWE as much as his legacy is WrestleMania. And no mention of him there. It's like he never existed. Never existed. Even at WrestleMania, which wonders the guy should be in his own Hall of Fame and never will be because of everything that's happened, unless he gets vindicated. He says he's not guilty. I tend to doubt that very much. Right. Now, let's get to the big show. Not the big show, but the show. All right. Where do we want to start? Go ahead. You lead it.
The first one that I want to bring up is the Intercontinental Championship of Gunther versus Sami Zayn.
You got an image of that?
Oh, yes, because this is the image.
There you go.
Sami Zayn
deserves attention. Sami Zayn deserves another championship. He's worked his way up. He's been a champion before. Here he is again. Gave Gunther a great match. I thought that on a scale of 1 to 10, that match was a 10. Okay? Yep. Let's move on. Let's move. And where does he go from there now? Who's he going to defend that against?
I might see Kevin Owens going for it.
That's what I thought. Well, how about Gable? Sure, Gable. Gable's the guy that mentored him and helped him out and he promised him a champion. I think they're doing that on. Is it Raw? They're going to do that on Raw Monday night. He's going to get the shot then. Yeah, and develop into a feud. Gable turns heel. Watch again. All right. Before we move on, put up this graphic. I know you have it. The records in WrestleMania.
Well, we were talking about that, and I said we would do it at the end because of what is on the graphics.
Oh, okay. All right. That's right. And calls the producer. He calls the shots. Okay. All right.
So let's go to night 1.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's do this as quick as we can.
You have this one.
All right. Now, I wanted to do that last call because that's the lasting image.
No, it's not. This is actually night 1.
Play it.
I'm getting there. Give me a second.
Play it. All right, that was night one, and one of the lasting images of Roman Reigns.
So
Okay,
night
which we'll
one,
review.
it
Okay,
was the tag team
right,
that if
which
Seth Rollins,
developed as we expected it to result in that.
right?
Again, I give that a 10. All right, now, where do we go from here? Bailey,
Yep.
the new women's champion, and expected. I expected that to occur.
Yes.
So she's a new champion, and I'm sure Damage Control is going to come after the title again.
Exactly. Then you also have this one, which was a triple threat match.
Oh, this was great. The three: Paul, Owens, and Orton. And you saw Owens and Orton going at it, which could become a feud.
Yep.
Something to look out for. And Logan Paul retains, and who does he get next?
Well, I could see them do one-on-one with Kevin Owens or Randy Orton first. But from there, it's anybody's game.
Great match that was a fantastic match, as well as the tag team match, the ladder. I didn't think that would work out. That was spectacular, Carl.
Yeah, it was, and unfortunately, I don't have the images of there.
No, but we know that they're breaking up. Obviously, they broke up the tag team titles. It's no longer unified.
Correct.
And I like that.
Is the Miz and R-Truth.
I'm glad. I was happy to see R-Truth is a great character. He's funny.
Oh, he's an amazing character. And also, too, the SmackDown is Grayson Waller and Austin Theory.
The heel team, and it obviously Triple H sees a lot in the two of those young men, and they have the tag team titles. I didn't expect that, though. But so they split up the tag team titles. It's anything. Who knows where that comes? There's a lot of exciting young tag teams in WWE. So, and a lot of them coming up from NXT, and you see a lot of NXT.
Yep.
Superstars moving up the ladder into WWE's main roster now after WrestleMania. We started to see that on Monday Night Raw with Dragunov now, their champion now on the WWE roster. Okay, where do we go from here? We got to look at Rollins and McIntyre and CM Punk.
That's who I was going to get into. So this was a match I was actually looking forward towards. Rollins, who's your champion, versus McIntyre. Hard-hitting match. We get this. Drew McIntyre wins. But, however,
CM Punk is commentary jumps into it. And Damian Priest then cashes in finally.
And he's
the first Puerto Rican champion since Pedro Morales.
Yes.
A Bronx kid like me. I missed him at Yankee Stadium the other night, but here he is. You got that image with him and Aaron Judge? Yeah, there we go. All over social media. I wasn't scheduled to be at the Yankee the other night, though a lot of my colleagues said, "Where were you, Rich?" Because they know how much I'm into pro wrestling. And asked and said to Aaron Judge, "I hope you don't mind me using All Rise," because Damian Priest uses that when he's in the ring. I am so happy for Damian Priest. A real Bronx guy who went up the ladder. I remember him walking into the gym the first time in Brooklyn with Johnny Rods. Then went out of there, went somewhere else, and worked his way to the top. And he's there now. How long do you think?
I remember him working for a company called ECPW.
Yeah. How long do you think Damian Priest holds that title? He's the new world champion. We know Seth Rollins taking the time off. No rematch right away. It's not going to happen. Rollins taking extended time off along with Becky Lynch. Their contracts are up for, they'll be renewed, but they're going to take some well-deserved time off, And Drew McIntyre continues to work without a contract, but you don't expect him to go anywhere. How long does Damian Priest hold that world heavyweight title now?
I would give it 1 year.
Yeah, he is marketable, well liked too. Eventually, he's going to be out of. He's not going to be a part of Judgment Day. Go on his own, become a good guy overall. And don't forget Rhea Ripley, still the top female wrestler in WWE in the women's division, as she retained against Becky Lynch, another good match that opened up WrestleMania Night 1. So overall, it was a great show. Before we go into the numbers and the records,
we have one more match we need to get.
Go ahead, because and then we'll go over the figures. Go ahead.
And was the main event for night number 2. Cody Rhodes challenging Roman Reigns for the title.
And we know what happened. And we saw Sikoa try to get involved.
Yep.
Cena
took him out.
Yep. And then we have The Rock getting involved as expected. But the unexpected was The Undertaker pile driving Tombstone, putting him down. Putting
choke slam
The Rock. Boy, I'll tell you, I got goosebumps when I saw Cena in there and The Rock.
Yeah.
And then The Undertaker, because it brought back memories of their matches of the past and WrestleManias of the past. Well done the way they did this.
Now they
expected Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold Steve Austin was not supposed they had him in the works, but they couldn't work it out. But The Undertaker stepped in and did a great job. I thought, Carl, it was a marvelous match, a marvelous WrestleMania. I don't think it was the top WrestleMania of all time. I still say the one that I worked and was attended, WrestleMania number 3, 93,000 fans, 1987, Pontiac Silverdome, to me, still, as I told Ricky Ricardo on WIP Radio Philly over the weekend, that to me is the top WrestleMania in my book still, because the storyline evolved and Hulk Hogan picked up Andre the Giant and slammed him to the mat. And 93,000 fans then was the arena indoor attendance record. To me, that still lays in top for me. I want to know what the fans think, and a lot of fans didn't agree with me on that. But overall, Carl, an A+ for WrestleMania number 40, the city of Philadelphia, the events leading up to the 2-night extravaganza. I don't know if they're going to be able to top this one for a long time. No. But The Rock guarantees it will be, because he's around, taking some time. Right. Back in the fold again by SummerSlam, he says, and I think you're going to see eventually, maybe next WrestleMania or as soon as SummerSlam, Reigns is coming back. Carl, what about this rumor before we put up the figures and put an end to the wrestling segment, that Reigns still has one of the titles, not the Universal?
No.
Because there's a lot of talk and rumors on social media about that.
No. Cody Rhodes actually has both titles.
And there's a lot of rumors even as of today about that. And where does the bloodline stand now? What are your thoughts?
That's a good question. My opinion is I would like to see them start slowly going separate ways, going solo acts.
But Cody Rhodes with that 3-cross Rhodes got the win, and Roman Reigns smiling on the bottom of it all, say his era and reign was over. 1,316 days, his first pinfall loss since December of 2019.
Yep.
Quite a record for Roman Reigns. Not maybe the greatest of all time, but one of them, despite all the interference from the Bloodline family members. Now put up the records, because this WrestleMania broke all types of records, starting with SmackDown Friday night. You put that image up, Carl. Biggest WrestleMania Raw and SmackDown gates ever. Even Raw topped that Monday night again. Most viewed WrestleMania ever. This on Peacock. And the figures were astronomical. Millions. The most social WrestleMania media post. Millions again on YouTube and all their other platforms. The highest WrestleMania merchandise sales ever. So they broke the record. They are supreme at what they do, and Triple H and company, Khan and Endeavor now, TKO venture, congratulations. You didn't let one fan down.
No.
You drew in wrestling fans from all over the world again. You drew in the wrestling fan as expected and the non-wrestling fan who watched this extravaganza and got tons of media exposure day and night all over the place, Carl.
Oh, yeah.
They ought to be congratulated. Great job. I enjoyed it. A lot too much, but I enjoyed it.
Well, don't forget, Rich, we actually have a second ring to show.
What second ring? Oh, yeah. My WrestleMania ring. Run it.
Yeah.
WrestleMania ring and figures. The first ones that came out by Mattel, I believe it was years ago.
Okay.
And I'm willing to give it away if no one wants to buy it. So anyone out there looking at it's just sitting here. I'm getting older, and that's getting older, and it's there. But when I look at it, that's my WrestleMania all the time.
I still have mine from a kid. Where
you got to show
had the red, white, and blue ropes.
You got to show yours one time. That's what you got to do, Carl. Thanks. We put a wrap on the wrestling segment. Did the best we could. A lot of pro wrestling news. Oh, yeah. Again, WrestleMania that tops an AEW in controversy and might be on their downslide. Their ratings might have been good last night, but we're going to see where that heads with that CM Punk footage being revealed by Tony Khan and company. All right. Take another brief break, Carl. Come back, wrap it up. Some nostalgia with boxing and some UFC news, and we'll wrap up this long extended version of Keep It in the Ring live this Thursday night on my channel, YouTube, Rich Mancuso, and the AGT Network. Like, comment, and subscribe, folks. Back in a moment. Stay with me. Back. I'm Rich Mancuso. Thanks for hanging in there with me live this Thursday night on Keep It in the Ring on my YouTube channel and the AGT Network. I'm going to wrap it up now and first go in the past. Let's look at some nostalgia. Boxing history. It was. I'm going to do this just, and I try and do it as much as I can. This week we celebrate April 11, 1981. Today's April 11, 1981 was what? Almost close to 40 years ago. I could tell I had more hair and everything else. Carl, put the image up. Larry Holmes, a great heavyweight champion, Hall of Famer, defeated Trevor Burbeck. Unanimous decision. He retained the WBC heavyweight title at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. As a young rookie reporter, I was there. I remember it. I did a lot of those fights back in the 80s, believe it or not. Going to be writing a book soon, hopefully put it all together. The previously undefeated Holmes defended his title 8 times by knockout. Burbeck, though, on this night ended that streak. So back in the past, Larry Holmes, Trevor Burbeck. Of course, Holmes, a big force in the face of the heavyweight division of boxing, with Muhammad Ali before that. And, of course, you had Holmes and you had Joe Frazier, Ali, of course, the big part of that. Trevor Burbeck was a part of that. Even Ronaldo Snipes, the Yonkers, New York native, still lives up there, a part of that heavyweight title mix. The Spinks brothers as well. That was a great era for boxing, especially the heavyweight division when we knew who the heavyweight championship where it was and who the champion was at the time. And with newspapers, a major sell back then. Find a newspaper now. You can't. It's all online, on the internet, on your phone, wherever. And you would have a fight like this making back page news. And all the dailies around the country, especially in New York, where boxing was big. And even sometimes on the front page when Ali used to win, retain the title. He was that type of celebrity icon, boxing figure at the time. But no more, my friends. You never get that ever again. It's a different era, a different world. And that's why I show you this content. All right, wrap it up with UFC info. A lot of that. UFC 300 this weekend. Alex Pereira or Jeremiah Hill. That's going to be on ESPN Plus this weekend. If you're a UFC MMA fan, you're going to watch UFC 300, champ versus champ. And a press tour begins this coming week in a matter of days, including a stop in New York City. And I'm going to be there. The grudge match. Last man standing there. Call it Nate Diaz and Masvidal pay-per-view. It's going to be on at Los Angeles, Saturday, June 1st. Now, I got a contention with that, though. They're going to be competing against a big fight night that night. But they don't care. UFC and boxing, they don't, they'll do their own thing, go back to back. They'll go war to war if they have to. Fans are going to want to watch this grudge match. This should do good on pay-per-view. So will Beterbiev and Bivol that night. There's a lot of boxing June 1st, Saturday, June 1st. But this UFC fight's a grudge match. The press tour begins on Tuesday in New York, goes into Los Angeles, I think in San Antonio and Texas after that as well. Last man standing match, Nate Diaz, who's full of controversy all the time, and Masvidal. They hate each other. And I'm sure on the press tour it's going to show even more. Champ versus champ, Saturday on UFC 300. UFC and the MMA high and really, of course, UFC, WWE, TKO, Endeavor. It's going to be a big weekend if you're a UFC MMA fan. Tune in. And I'll have footage hopefully next week at that press conference, Diaz and Masvidal. Well, fans, I want to thank you for joining me this extended hour live of Keep It in the Ring this week on my YouTube channel, Rich Mancuso, and on the AGT Network and on Facebook Live. Hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. A lot of content, I know. We have a lot of it. And we keep doing this every week for you, the fan. Reach me on social media, X, formerly Twitter, Ring786, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso. Call, scroll that again at the bottom of the screen. If people want to see my social media handles, you can do that. But do subscribe to my YouTube channel, Rich Mancuso. There's content up there. I don't do it every day, but it's there, including this program. If you miss it, you want to go back and see some of my old work, it's there as well. And also on the AGT Network, a rising network here on YouTube. Carl Roberts, a big part of that. I thank him for having me here each and every week. I want you all to stay well. I want you to be good to each other. That is so important today, and God bless. And we'll be back with you next week. Watch my social media to find out when we'll be live. Probably next Wednesday, back again at 7 p.m. But we'll keep you posted on that. And watch all the great show live programming on the AGT Network. So till next week, my friends, thanks for tuning in. This is Rich Mancuso. And as I always say, keep it in the ring, everyone. Good night.